What is going on, everyone? Welcome to another very exciting episode right here on the MI Gardener channel. In today's episode, I'm going to show you how to prune your blackberry bushes to maximize yield and increase overall plant health in the next year. Now, it's a common mistake that I see gardeners making where they treat their blackberries like they treat their raspberries. And then they write to us and say, well, my blackberries are never yielding anything and I'm maintaining them every year, but I'm just not getting anything. And I simply say, well, that is the problem right there. And unfortunately, a lot of people end up learning the hard way, myself included. We learn the hard way because we think, well, they're in the same family. They're both brambles. They both grow canes. How can they be a whole lot different? And it all has to do with the fact that raspberries are raspberries and blackberries are blackberries. They are in the same family, but they're treated totally different with how they're maintained and how they're, how they grow and how they fruit. And so in this episode, I'm going to break that down for you guys so you don't make that same mistake again. And hopefully, if you're growing blackberries, you can increase your fruit yields so you have tons of harvest. This year was our best year yet. In fact, from this little bush here behind us, I got about 3 pounds of blackberries. It was absolutely incredible. I've never had such a great year for blackberries in my entire life. But I'm hoping next year is going to be even better because as we go, as we grow our blackberry bushes here, the yields are only going to keep getting better as the plant keeps getting bigger. And so with that being said, come on behind us. We're going to get this thing pruned up. All right, so the simple idea that I want you guys to understand when pruning your blackberries is the idea of 2 steps forward, 1 step back. And how this differs from raspberries is when growing raspberries, it's really a 1 step forward, 1 step back. And that's because raspberries will grow a cane. Those canes will grow branches, they'll fruit and they'll flower. Sometimes they'll fruit and flower 2 times in a season. But once that cane has produced, it's not going to produce again. And so it's better just to chop it off about 1 foot off the ground. And then the next year it's going to produce new canes. Those new canes are what's going to fruit and flower. And so what people do when they're growing raspberries is they will basically play an eternal game of popcorn where the new canes will grow, those will fruit and flower, and then they'll chop them back. That'll encourage new canes, new fruit and flowers. When those are done, they might as well be chopped back. And it's just this 1 step forward, 1 step back, 1 step forward, 1 step back. And it's just this eternal game of popcorn all season, every season basically, where you just keep it in flux. As long as the new growth is coming and the old growth is getting chopped back, you'll always have consistent production. Whereas with blackberries, it's 2 steps forward, 1 step back, because blackberries will prioritize growth first and flowering and fruiting second. They really don't need to fruit and flower. In fact, blackberries will sometimes take 3 to 4 years to actually start fruiting, whereas raspberries, they can basically fruit their first year because of the fact they grow so fast and they produce canes the way that they do, that a blackberry needs to kind of take time to get built up. This plant didn't produce for the first 3 years. After the 4th year, it got the clue and said, whoa, hold on, I'm big enough, let's start fruiting. And then all of that new growth produced new flowers and new fruit. The problem is it gets really big and unmanageable that way because it will like double in size and then give a little bit of fruit yield. And so what we want to do is we do want a larger, healthier plant because the larger the plant, the more new growth and the more it's going to fruit. But I don't want a plant that's too big and too unmanageable. And that's the idea of letting it grow, letting it just have a ripping rally of a growth and then just chop it back by half. Because you're not going to take the plant all the way back. You're not going to completely reset it because then you'll just reset all of your fruiting and all of your growth. You want to just kind of give it a knock back a little bit and then it'll produce a lot of fruits and flowers. It'll also produce and encourage lots of side growth. And then that side growth is what's going to grow and fruit and flower next year. And so we have here a lot of this side growth. It's kind of growing almost like a bush, if you will, but it's got lots of this growth here that's just really, really long. And so what I want to do is I want to come back here, and again, I just want to cut it off about 50%. You don't need to cut it all the way back. Again, you're not cutting it, 1 foot off the ground like raspberries, just to kind of get it out of the way and clear it up and encourage new growth. We want the plant size to be here. And so I'm going to take it, I'm going to say, all right, there you go. I'm just going to chop that off right there. Coming in here, got a nice growth here. I'm going to take it and I'm going to chop it off right there. I'm going to actually be creating almost like a bush out of my blackberries. Check this out. Look how long this is. So this is a testament. And these things just, oh my gosh, look how long this is. So we're gonna take it and we're gonna chop it back, because what that's going to do again is it's going to encourage new growth. It's going to encourage all these little stems that are new growth. That's what's going to grow first next year. That's what's going to set the fruit and flowers next year. And then those will also branch and create new spots that I'm going to have to chop some back to keep it manageable, but I'm going to keep a lot of it that's going to fruit and flower next year. And these grow fast. You'll be surprised at how fast these grow. And so coming in here, you know, come in close. You can see it probably better if you, don't be shy, come on in. All right, so we have all of this growth. It's just chaos, right? Coming in here, I'm gonna take it. I like this growth. I just don't need all this growth. So I'm gonna take it, I'm gonna say, all right, you've grown 2 steps. I'm gonna take 1 step back there because I just need to kind of keep you in check. All this side growth here, I'm just gonna kind of take this and chop this back too, right? All this growth, see all this growth? It's just kind of chaotic. And I don't need all of it. So I'm gonna chop that back. And in doing that, I'm taking this back to a few growth points that are gonna grow. They're gonna grow super fast next year, but it's not gonna be unmanageable. You know, prime example, like, I mean, again, this is like, oh my goodness, this is crazy how tall these things are. But look at this, look at all this growth, right? I don't need all, this growth is crazy, it's too much. So I'm gonna take it, and I'm gonna say, all right, you've grown 2 steps, and I'm simply gonna take you back by a step, because if you keep growing by 2 steps every year, you're going to double every year, and then 2 turns into 4, and 4 turns into 8, and 8 turns into 64. I had to test my math skills there, but it just doubles every year and just gets too much. So the simple idea is just we're going to take it back and just kind of tell it to chill out a little bit. All right, so again, I'm just going to come in here, and some of these are growing along the ground, and I don't want them growing on the ground. That's another thing that I don't want. So anything touching the ground, I'm gonna prune off, because they will set down roots. They will start to grow like a vine. And so see right here where this started to bend, you can see that little L-shaped bend right there. So see that little L-shaped bend, that would absolutely set down new roots. And that's where you start to get a, well, actually, yeah, see that right there? It was literally setting down new roots as we speak. And so that just makes sure that it stays maintained as well, because that's a big reason why people don't grow blackberries, is because if you just let them go, they will set down roots just about anywhere they touch the soil, and then that's how they spread and crawl, and they become just a total unmanaged mess. But they do have the potential to produce a ton of fruit for you, and in my opinion, I don't think there's a whole lot better of a fruit. Sure, the seeds are a little bit hard, but I'll tell you what, the flavor of a sun-ripened warm blackberry, it's nothing better. So again, we're gonna take these here, all this growth, this is just super crazy. Wow, it's a lot of growth. We're gonna simply take it and say, all right, you grew 2 steps, and I'm gonna take 1 step back. And we're gonna keep it off of the ground. Because again, also, here's the other thing too. When these plants get really, really tall and they produce all that growth, what happens? They get top heavy. They get top heavy, and then they fall down. And then they end up setting a bunch of roots, and they start growing in places where you don't want them. And that's how they get the bad rep of just being just a, you know, a wild and crazy untamed plant. Now, the final thing you can do that's not pruning related, because that's about all you really need to do, is just remember the 2 step forward, 1 step back rule. The final thing you really can do is, if you have plants that are starting to die, that are starting to turn really red in color, those are old canes that are kind of on their way out. This is where they do kind of become similar to things like raspberries, in that raspberries, when the canes get to an old age, they will just kind of naturally die. And so we can go in here and we can prune these out. Again, the green growth is new growth. The old red growth is growth that you can prune out. So, you know what, come in here, check this out. This is important too. All right, so you see this? This is beautiful green growth. Green, nice and green. But if you come in here, you'll notice, see all these flowers? This is where it fruited. It's old and it's on its way out. And you'll notice, I know it's in the shade, but look, see how red that is? So that is old growth that can be pruned out, because it's ultimately on its way out, compared to new growth, which is going to fruit and flower next year and grow for us. The final thing you can do is when you're growing these, you can trellis them. A lot of people don't really know that you can trellis them. And what you can do is you can get a little arbor, like a little trellis, and you can weave them in and out. Now they won't climb like grapes will or other vines, cucumbers and pole beans and stuff like that. But by weaving them in and out of the trellis, it'll keep them up so that they're not growing along the ground. It'll also give you way more access to sunlight, so you end up getting more growth and more fruit production. But again, that's growing vertically. And that's a video for another day, but I think we're gonna do that next year with this blackberry bush here, is just put a big arbor along the house and grow it up vertically by weaving it in and out of the slats. So that's another thing you can do to kind of just keeping it maintained and upright. But there you guys go. I hope you guys enjoyed. I hope you learned something new. If you did, make sure to throw a thumbs up and let me know in the comments box down below what you learned. If you're interested in knowing how to grow blackberries and even raspberries, go check out our complete growing guide on growing blackberries and raspberries. It's a super simple guide that's going to get you, getting a healthy plant. And then once your plant is super healthy, then you can come back to this video and prune it properly. So I hope you guys enjoyed. Take care as always. Grow big or go home. We'll see you guys later.